Good morning, I'm Bee, and this is my YouTube channel, The Fuzzy Knitting Bee. So today's video I am so excited for because we are talking about my fall knitting plans. That just makes me so happy to be able to say I am very much a fall and winter person. I love when it's cold or even just simply cool. I love to be able to wear sweaters and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to be able to talk about my fall knitting plans. Now, summer and spring, I did pair them together because I felt like I could make a more reasonable list of things that I can make during that time. But for fall and winter, I am going to separate them because during the fall time, I also make a lot of Christmas gifts, and I cannot talk about those actually here on the videos because my family watches these videos and I don't want them to know what I am making them for Christmas. So I am splitting those two. So this video is going to be kind of a shorter one compared to spring and summer, and it will probably be a little bit of a smaller list compared to winter, or the projects might be smaller than the winter list. So let's jump into projects that I want to finish this fall, and then we'll start talking about the ones that I want to start and hopefully finish this fall as well. Okay, so for this section, we are talking about projects that I am currently working on and ones that I really want to finish this fall. So y'all have definitely seen these if you've watched any of my other videos, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about them here, but I do want to show y'all the ones that I really want to finish this fall. But if you come back next week, we will be talking about them more because I will be doing an end of season podcast where I'm talking about projects that I have finished, projects that I am currently working on, some fiber related things that I have done this summer, and probably a few other things that come to mind that I just want to share with y'all. So definitely come back next week for that. But right now, let's talk about those patterns. This is the lovely Salty Days sweater. I am right at the end. I just need to do a few more rows and then I can cast off on the bottom. And then I can start on the arms, which shouldn't take too long. And then I have the collar. But I'm really loving how this is working up. I love the yarn. I love the color of it. It is so pretty. But like I said, I will talk more about this next week, so definitely come back for that. But I might be making a little video here soon of me trying to finish up some of these projects at the beginning of fall. So definitely stay tuned for that. It will probably be closer to middle of October when y'all see that one. So definitely come back for that. Okay, so this next one is one that I have been knitting for my mom, and I feel bad because I have slowed down actually on this pattern a little bit, but I wouldn't mind getting it done before Saf, and that is the Sophie shawl that I'm making for her. I have made quite a few of these, so I did kind of slow down on this one because it does get a little repetitive after a while, but it is a really simple pattern. If you've knitted the Sophie scarf or the Sophie shawl, I can't really say anything about the Sophie hood because I haven't knitted that one yet. But these are really simple patterns. They're really fun. But I wanted something more challenging for a little bit, so I did end up putting this one down. But I do want to pick it back up so I can finish this one for her, and maybe she can even wear it to Saf. So we'll have to wait and see how much I can get done on this one. Okay, so this next one is the Daydreamer cardigan. I am on one arm that I am about finished with, and then I will need to knit the other one, and then I'm going to knit just a little bit longer on the body. I do kind of want this one cropped because I plan to wear it with like high-waisted skirts and high-waisted dresses, and I just feel like that would be a more flattering look. But I do definitely want to finish this one. I think it is a really fun pattern. It's really cute. I love the stitch pattern that you're using for it. But I wouldn't mind picking this one up and maybe finishing it even before Thanksgiving. I think this would be kind of a fun Thanksgiving outfit. But yeah, I definitely want to get back to this one. So the next two socks are both from 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. So I'm going to be saying the number that the socks are, but the name will also be right here. And then I have some patterns that I'm wanting to start that are also from 52 Weeks of Socks and 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. I will be doing the same with those and also putting which book they are from. But the name will be right here, the number will be right here, and which book. But let's talk about those socks real quick. Okay, so the two that I'm wanting to finish, I was working on in last week's video where we were knitting some socks, and that was number 16 from 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2 and number 32 from 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2. I absolutely was enjoying these patterns. This one was just kind of a last minute project that I did not originally have planned, but I really ended up enjoying this sock. I think it is so cute and I can't wait to get the next one finished. And then this one is actually my first colorwork sock and I'm really pleased with it and I can't wait to get started back with this one. I haven't actually casted on the other ones for either one of these, so I will be doing that here in the next few days and I will update y'all on the podcast, so definitely come back for that, but I would love to get started back on these. Okay, so now we are going to be talking about projects that I haven't started yet, but I would love to start this fall and maybe even complete this fall. With the sock patterns, like I said, with 52 Weeks of Socks, I'm going to say the number and which book they are from, but the name will be up there, and I will also have them in the description down below, so definitely check those out there. And then the other patterns, I will say the name, but they will also be down in the description as well as the ones that I am working on. I just thought I should add that. I did not add that in the beginning. So just so you know, the patterns that I am talking about in this video are down in the description below. Okay, so I opened up my cabinet here so we can talk about the yarn that I am going to be using for some of these projects. And some of the yarn that I have in mind, and I'm still deciding, is this the yarn that I want to use for this project? I know I don't have yarn for all the projects that I'm wanting to do because I am going to SAF and I have some idea of what I'm looking for. But there are some of the projects that I do have yarn already chosen for, so let's talk about those first. Okay, so I got another cup of coffee and I changed up the camera angle so y'all can see this lovely cabinet as we talk about the patterns. So let's get started. So I want to introduce y'all to our lovely co-host today, which is my phone. I have all the information right here, so y'all will be seeing me look at my phone some. But let's get talking about patterns. Okay, so the first pattern we're going to talk about is the peony vest. I am really excited about this pattern. It's one that I've wanted to knit since July when we went to the beach and we stopped by this yarn store that had these really fun bins that had some different bundles of yarn, and I was able to find some of these. And this is a really pretty gray color. I will have the information about the yarn up on the screen, but I thought it would make a really pretty peony vest. Now, this pattern at the moment is $9.96, and it calls for bulky weight yarn, and it calls for 350 yards to 787 yards, and it has 9 sizes. I just think this is a really cool vest. I love the zigzag opening. I think you could really have a lot of fun with the buttons as well, which I haven't chosen yet, but I do have a lot of buttons that I could choose from. I'm also going to be going to SAF, and there are people that are selling buttons, so I will have to look there as well. But I think we could have a lot of fun with the buttons, and I really can't wait to knit this one. Okay, so this next one is another project that I've wanted to knit since I went to that yarn store in July, and I found this lovely yarn while we were there. And that is the Instant Gratification Cardigan. At the moment, this cardigan is $10.49, and it calls also for bulky weight yarn. It calls for 525 yards to 1,094 yards, and it has 10 sizes. I think this is just a really cute, simple cardigan, and I've really wanted a Kelly green cardigan, and I found this yarn and I thought it was absolutely perfect for this sweater. The yarn still is not the right color on camera, and I know that. It is a much kind of darker green than it shows up on camera. But I think this yarn will look really cute for this cardigan. I think you could also have a lot of fun with the buttons because it has 3 big buttons down the front. I think it would be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to knit this one this fall. Now, these are the only 2 kind of big items for this fall. The rest are mainly accessories, so let's get on to talking about those. Okay, so sticking with the green themed yarn apparently, I want to talk about a project that I did have on my list for spring and summer, but I didn't ever get to, and that was the Honey Bucket Bag by PetiteKnits. This pattern is $8.27, and it calls for a sport weight yarn, and it calls for 257 yards to 333 yards. It comes in 2 sizes, and I do have this really pretty soft green, just a very light soft green yarn from Knitting Notions, and I've had this one since the beginning of the year, so I think this would be a really fun project to start, especially with all the green projects that I'm doing, from the beret to the cardigan to even the Salty Days sweater, as well as my mom's shawl. I have a lot of green projects right now, so that is kind of a fun little idea of just keeping a lot of green projects going. So I'm really excited about this pattern. I think it would be a really fun like little project bag that I could put like socks in and stuff like that. So yeah. Okay, so for whatever reason, I am struggling with saying the name of this pattern today, but I am really excited about it. It is this lovely collar pattern, and it is a free pattern, and it calls for a light fingering weight yarn. So when we were at the Southern Comforts Fibre Market, I actually had in mind what I wanted for this project, and I was able to find it, and it is this pretty white kind of colorful speckled yarn. So I think this would be kind of a fun yarn for this project. It is a very small project, but it still has a lot of detail, so I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I can't wait to get started on this project. Okay, so this first pattern is out of the first volume of 52 Weeks of Socks. It is number 43. You can purchase this one separately for $4.54, and it calls for light fingering weight yarn. It calls for 420 yards to 440 yards. It comes in 2 sizes, and it is a cuff down sock. I just think it is a really pretty lacy sock, and I think it would be really fun to knit this fall. I do not have yarn chosen for this one yet, and I don't really think I have anything in my cabinet that I think I want to knit with it, except maybe, just maybe, and I brought this yarn up last week, this yarn right here. I think it might actually make a really pretty pair of socks. So we'll have to wait and see what I end up doing. But at the moment, I do not have necessarily a yarn picked out for it. That's just a possibility, but let's move on. Okay, so the last few patterns for this video are all actually out of the second volume of 52 Weeks of Socks. So let's get started talking about those. Okay, so this first pattern I am really excited for. It is actually number 1 out of 52 Weeks of Socks Volume 2, and it calls for a light fingering weight yarn, and it can be knit in 3 different sizes. It is a cuff down sock. I just love the design on the back of the leg. I feel like that's just a fun touch, and I love the name of the sock. So I have this yarn right here, and I feel like it's very kind of Tingled inspired. It gives me, you know, Disney Rapunzel colors. I love it, and I think it would be fun to be able to knit a sock that is called Rapunzel with some yarn that makes me think of Rapunzel. So I think this is going to be a really fun project. But on to the next one. Okay, so this next sock was one that I was going to cast on in the last video, and I didn't get around to doing so, and that is number 18. I think this is a really cute sock. It calls for fingering weight yarn, and it can be knit in 3 different sizes. So I originally was going to knit this sock in this yarn right here, but I ended up deciding not to because I felt like this yarn might be a little bit too thin for this sock. And then I just remembered that I had this sock yarn that I totally forgot about. This is the West Yorkshire Spinner Signature 4-ply sock yarn, and it is in the colorway Wood Pigeon. I have used some of this already. I have 2 skeins of these. I knitted my mom a pair of vanilla socks, which I'll put up right here. I thought they were really pretty, and I think this would be kind of a fun thing to combine with this pattern. So I can't wait to knit these. So on to the next sock. Okay, so this next pattern is number 40 out of 52 Weeks of Socks, volume 2, and it calls for light fingering weight yarn, and it can be knit in 3 different sizes. It is another toe-up sock. I don't have any yarn in mind for this pattern yet. There is one that might be a possibility, which would be this one right here. I think that could be a pretty yarn to knit it in, but I kind of want to have a shade that is similar to what is in the pattern photo, or even like a pretty dusty rose. Kind of even like, this is not the right yarn for it, but it is kind of like the right shade that I have in mind. Kind of something like that even, I think would be really pretty. So I might have to look for that while we're at SAF. It is one that I wouldn't mind kind of knitting kind of towards November. I think it would be kind of fun to have it for the Christmas season because it kind of gives me those vibes as well. But I think this is a really pretty pattern and I can't wait to knit it. Okay, so we're on to the last pattern for this video, and that is number 12 out of 52 Weeks of Socks, volume 2. This pattern can be purchased separately for $5.68. It calls for fingering weight yarn, and it can be knit in 3 different sizes. I do actually have some yarn in mind for this pattern. It might change, but I think I am going to knit it with this yarn. My parents went on a trip to Boston and actually brought this back to me, and I just think pairing it with the sock pattern would be really pretty. So I might actually start these here soon, but I think it would be a really fun pattern to knit with this yarn. So yeah. Okay, so we are at the end of the video. I hope y'all did enjoy, and if you did, definitely give this video a like, and also subscribe to join our lovely little knitting group here on the internet. I know this video is kind of different compared to the ones that I typically do. I do a lot of vlogging and kind of knit with me type videos, but I do like to do these towards the end of the season and beginning of the season. So this video was kind of looking at projects that I'm working on and I plan to work on. Next week's video is kind of updating you on what I did Fibre related this past season. So it will be summer this time. So I will be updating you on projects that I've completed, projects that I'm still working on, and kind of some Fibre related things that I've done throughout the summer. But we will be getting started back on the vlogs towards the beginning of October, so definitely come back for those as well. I have a lot of fun ones coming up that I am actually currently working on, and I'm having so much fun with those. So definitely come back for those, and also comment down below what y'all are currently working on. If you have any plans to knit things this fall, I always love to hear. That is one of my favorite parts about YouTube, is always hearing what y'all are working on. So definitely do that because I love to hear, and I will see y'all next week. Good night.